the greater Benin area. And the greater Benin area would only give you maximum of about 3-4 local government areas in the 18 local government areas that make up Edo State. We must be very circumspect about how the footage we see are interpreted, or the dancing, or some of the terminologies used by some of the individuals interviewed. We must be very careful about that. And indeed, one of the reporters was circumspect enough to tell us that whilst things were orderly where he was, there was an alleged report of electoral disruption somewhere else. Until we get a very good panoramic picture of the facts at play across the areas of contestation, the electoral contestation, we must be very circumspect to be pronouncing in one direction or the other. But at least as a Nigerian, and I said this before, I will reiterate it again, as a Nigerian, in the backdrop of what, as at this juncture in the Rivers election, was carnage, and as at this juncture in the Bayelsa election was writ large in violence. I am a happy man today that in Edo we have not wasted human lives for the greed of few.
Okay, Dr. Shizza, let me come back to you and ask you to, just to take it up from where Gbola Oba stopped. This use of technology, why is it difficult for us to fully enforce it and enjoy the benefits?
Well, my response would be very sharp. The political elite in Nigeria, knowing full well, do not benefit, knowing full well its atrocities and untoward, undemocratic behaviors will be exposed. It's not disposed to e-voting process and electronic-based voting. We need to situate the issue in context. Electoral competition in Nigeria has often been characterized with political violence, the use of private armies, manipulation of resource, gerrymandering, manipulation of constituency boundaries, inducement of election officials and so on and so forth, and the manipulation of the voters lists. Voters lists where it is manual codes and has been manipulated at the last minute pre-election. The manual process has suited the anti-democratic agenda of the political elite. Politics is about self-interest. It is about private agenda. It is about canvassing what suits the dominant faction of the political class and rejecting what will not be in its interest. Otherwise, Nigeria should, given its historical trajectories, given the experiences of electoral malfeasance, Nigeria should be working as a situation where all of these abnormalities and oddities will be moderated through a new form of election. I commend Professor Ize-Iyama for introducing, significant milestones, new milestones in the electoral process. The e-voting, the use of card reader, the PVC, etc., etc. The lacune, if you ask me, was the fact that we did not have a legal framework, and the political elite exploited it to advantage in courts and the public domain. INEC should learn from it. INEC should suggest to the National Assembly, to the Institute for Electoral Studies, the need to include, the e-voting aspects in the electoral law that we amended for 2019 elections, and future elections. We should be posing this question. will it be peculiar to Nigeria to adopt electronic-based voting? It's not be peculiar to Nigeria. It's become a global phenomenon. And it's a challenge to develop the electoral process beyond the mundane. Nigeria is reluctant to go beyond the mundane. And why Nigeria still firmly rooted in mundaneness?
Nigerian political class.
It is about the political elite. The political elite is predatory, it is backward, it is unintellectual, and it's ever committed to subverting every aspect of the political elite.
So how do we begin, or where do we begin to move the system forward?
I've made a point about legislating on e-voting. It must be included in the amended aspect of the electoral law. You recall, my colleague mentioned this in the morning after the program, that several court judgments, including the Kogi court judgment at the level of the Supreme Court, this contains, the aspect of the electoral issues. I suppose my interpretation of it was that the court, knowing full well that the e-voting aspects were not legally codified, it was reluctant to now invoke the law in that light. So we need to codify the e-aspects of voting in the electoral law, so that one, it will compel the court itself, including the Supreme Court, to adjudicate on cases and make pronouncements in the light of new legal provisions. The new legal provisions. It is imperative we do it. Secondly, to assist the e-voting process, we need to differentiate at structural and functional level certain rules. We need to create bodies that will monitor and investigate the political parties, as distinct from a body that will conduct elections. The point I'm making is, see the process, pre-election, during election, post-elections, parties are funded, politicians and candidates raise funds. There are limits to these funds, but the limits are often violated. The question is, who reprimands the offender, and who investigates what money is sought and where it is sought and so on. We do not have such. The point I'm making is the electoral body is overburdened, and we need to create a new body to investigate those aspects, to investigate spending, financial aspects of the electoral process. We need to create a new body to investigate, subversions and abuses of the electoral process, including the aspects, and such body now would be providing evidence to the cause of the special tribunals on adjudication. You recall the Ways report, and the civil society had canvassed repeatedly for the electoral offences tribunal. We need to invoke the law. The political leader escaped, violations of the law too often. We need to invoke the law. There should be scapegoats. Otherwise, we'll continue to practice what I call underdeveloped democracy, and we'll continue to be at the bottom of democracy. Right. But let me reiterate the point about e-voting. E-voting is not voodoo science. It is achievable. It is realizable. We've been at the starting point. We've applied it in the 2015 general election, and it's assisted the process to a large extent in terms of its transparency and legitimation. If you ask me, what made it easy for the former president Goodluck Jonathan to concede the few of the fact that prima facie he lost the election, and he could not have contested the polls. So we need to build on those gains. Right. And the starting point will be to legalize the process, so that it will be difficult for the political elite to invoke legal niceties, to undermine the process.
Let me come on to Gbola Oba, and I'll take a cue from your last comments. The waste report. Now, it's more or less hanging. What are the things, the key issues in that report that we need to quickly implement?
The waste report, you must remember, was vociferously, the waste committee report was vociferously supported by the members of this government when they were in opposition. You must remember. In fact, the agitation of the opposition there, now people in government, including President Muhammadu Buhari, and the civil society organization made the then president to even set up a subsequent report. Ahmed something. No, not Jordan. There was an Ahmed. I've forgotten the listing now. The brother name of the gentleman, the committee, and many of the recommendations were carried. One is there must be a dedicated elections tribunal. You know, when you abuse the system or when you violate the system, a dedicated tribunal to look into the conduct of those who have been alleged to have violated the system. A number of recommendations were made on even the processes, how to go about the phases and stages of the electoral system. The truth is that recently INEC submitted a number of proposed changes to the National Assembly, but they are not visiting it yet because of it. There's no good money in it now, and they also have to look through how they must still be allowing Ojuju Calabar to be prevailing in it. Politicians, because of self-interest, naturally not totally warm up to some of the things that you and I or an average member of the Nigerian public will warm up to, because their self-interest and self-preservation is, we need to be more incisive in how we use public opinion to aid them in the direction of doing the right thing. Look, the universally accepted criterion with which life is measured anywhere in the world is the value that you use the gift of life and the gift of time to translate or to make, and that value in most societies, or in virtually all human societies in the world, is denominated in money. And I'm telling you that as we speak today in Nigeria, one democratic phenomenon that both the rich and the poor can easily lay claim to for accountability is the use of technology in how they monitor their money. If we can use it in monitoring what we are worth, value-wise or pecuniary-wise or financial-wise or money-wise, why? And we know that the integrity of its architecture as we use it in that respect gives satisfaction, reduces anxiety. Look, if I hold you money and I say I'm going to pay, until you get that alert, you will not be at peace. Even if I have deposited money in your account, manually, physically at the bank, and your bank is yet to do the reconciliation and send you that electronic message that Gbola Oba has paid that money that they promised to pay, I can be speaking any language on the face of the earth, preaching any homily on the face of the earth, until you get that alert. And technology is such that it has been so easy. So it means that if I can sit here and somebody that I promised that I would give money to in my Duguri, I could just do it on my phone. I think it's about time that our elite, both political and legal, came to the realization that because this will even save costs. Highly sensitive material, we have had now to move 20,000 plus policemen from states across the federation to go and augment about 5,000 policemen in Edo, 60,000 cumulatively, 60,000 security personnel have had to be moved to Edo, papers printed, youth corpers, adult staff. You must realize that for every election that is held, like the one being held in Edo today, adult staff, the number of adult staff transcend that of the permanent staff. And look at the vulnerabilities that they subject our youth corpers to. In Rivers State, 1 or 2 youth corpers lost their lives. No. Somebody just about, getting into the fullness of life after the sacrifices of going to schools and whatever, parents who have invested on their child suddenly, because in recent times, between the penultimate general election, the last general election, and all the elections in Bayelsa, Rivers, and Edo, and Kogi, at least nothing less than 5 youth corpers' lives must have been lost. We cannot be doing something that is wrong in the same way repeatedly and be expecting about time our legislators and National Assembly came to the realization that for even those of them who are in good touch with their electoral base, it will be profitable. For many of them too, they live in anxiety of the omnipotence of their party machinery. What better machinery can help them to denumb the potency or the omnipotency of the party chieftains if they know if they know they are truly useful to their electors? So,